just like slide through this and boom, we're on another planet?
No, same planet, different dimension.
Okay, see if this helps. This is our Earth. Let's call it Earth 1. And this second Earth, let's call it Earth 2. And these other Earths, 3, 4, 5, to infinity. All of them are nearly identical to ours, and they all exist at the same time, giving us endless alternatives to what we have here.
All right, so imagine there are multiple versions of Earth, one where the Nazis won World War II, one where Kennedy was never assassinated.
Oh yeah, one where all of us are evil.
Been there, it sucks. So all of these Earths occupy the same place in space, but they vibrate at a different frequency so they can't see one another. Cool. Wow, wow.
So the theory of the multiverse, that's true.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah.
What if you could travel to parallel worlds? The same year, the same Earth, only different dimensions. A world where the Russians rule America. Or where your dreams of being superstar came true. Or where San Francisco was a maximum security prison. My friends and I found the gateway.
Hello. The concept of a wormhole or portal may seem like fantasy to most people, but it actually has a basis in science.
Stargates and wormholes sound like science fiction, but some of the greatest minds in science believe they might be possible.
Introduced by Albert Einstein himself in 1935, a wormhole is a shortcut, a subway system connecting two distant points in space and time.
This is a wormhole. Think of taking a sheet of paper and putting two dots on it. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. But if I can fold that sheet of paper, then perhaps I can create a shortcut through space and time, called a wormhole. This is a genuine solution of Einstein's equations. We can actually see this in string theory. The question is, how practical is it to go through one of these things? We don't know. In fact, there's a debate among physicists today. Stephen Hawking, many physicists are jumping into the game, trying to figure out whether it's physically possible to go all the way through a wormhole.
Now that we've established wormholes have a basis in science, we may have actually caught one on video.
Northwest Columbia, May 17th, 2018. Construction workers are underground working on a government building project. Inside what seems like an ordinary tunnel, something incomprehensible happens that none of them have ever seen before.
It's as if the tunnel has come alive and it's breathing.
The tunnel seems to move as a cloud, repeatedly and very suddenly, appearing and disappearing. Workers who witness it are terrified, including Juan Antonio Sanchez.
La tierra empezó a rugir, como de un león. Eso produce mucho temor porque en cualquier momento uno creía que el túnel se podía derrumbar o que podía... Temimos mucho por nuestras vidas.
Footage of the weird pulsing energy baffles scientists.
There's also this booming sound that's associated with it.
Is this dangerous? Is the whole thing going to collapse?
What the hell's going on here?
Physicist Chad Orzel reviews the footage and considers an incredible theory.
There's a very regular pulsation, so it seems like something must be controlling it. If you were going to imagine an intergalactic portal to a distant galaxy, this is what it would look like.
Many physicists are convinced they exist, but nothing like it has ever been filmed. A wormhole or stargate is considered by some to be a possible future means of interstellar travel.
These kinds of wormholes are frequently used as ways to travel interstellar distances in space. They show up in the movie Stargate, they show up in the movie Interstellar as long-distance travel arrangements. So this seems like a really great idea.
The concept of a multiverse, or parallel dimensions, is also supported by theoretical physics.
String theory takes you before the Big Bang, before Genesis itself. And what does string theory say? It says that there is a multiverse of universes. Where did the Big Bang come from? Well, Einstein's equations give us this compelling picture that we are like insects on a soap bubble. A gigantic soap bubble which is expanding, and we are trapped like flies on flypaper. We can't escape the soap bubble. And that's called the Big Bang Theory. String theory says there should be other bubbles out there in a multiverse of bubbles. When two universes collide, it can form another universe. When a universe splits in half, it can create two universes, and that, we think, is the Big Bang. The Big Bang is caused either by the collision of universes or by the fissioning of universes.
The following are true stories of travelers believed to be from parallel realities. Near Woolpit, England, during the 12th century, a mysterious young girl and boy were discovered. Their skin had a green tint, and they spoke an unfamiliar language. They refused all food offered to them until they were presented raw beans, which they did eat. The young boy grew ill and did not survive, but the girl adapted, and the green tint to her skin slowly faded. Once she learned the English language, she explained that she and her brother were from a place called St. Martin's Land. It was a place of perpetual twilight, but across the vast river was a land bathed in light. She was tending her father's cattle with her brother when they were lost in a valley, and they found themselves within a tunnel or cave. They saw light at the end of the tunnel and came out in the brightness near Woolpit. One of the theories for the green children is that they're from a parallel world, a world that is tidally locked in orbit around a dwarf star, and her family lived in the permanent twilight area between darkness and light. In 1850, Jofar Voren was found wandering outside of modern-day Frankfurt, Germany. He spoke a broken dialect of German, but it was enough they could communicate with him. He was crossing the sea on a voyage to find his brother when the vessel went down, and he became lost, finding himself there. When asked where he was from, he claimed to be from Laxaria, in the compartment of Sacria. His description of the world didn't match our world at all, but he never tried to profit from his story, so it's believed by many that he is from another reality.
The legend of the fairy rings in medieval grimoires says that you go into a parallel reality when you walk into that ring. But it turns out that where you go in and where you come out determines what you're going to see. So you can see different stuff. You can actually go through different periods of time. So you can actually go in the crop circle or the fairy ring on this side and then come out on the other side. And just by doing that, if you enter and exit in a different way, then you may actually end up time traveling. This drawing is actually an illustration of an event that did occur in the 1800s where two drunk guys in England, so it always starts that way, doesn't it? Two drunk guys in England staggering home from the bar One of them's named Rise and one of them's named Llewellyn. One of the best metaphysical book publishing companies out there is Llewellyn, and their name is based on this story, which was documented and eyewitnessed. Rise and Llewellyn walk home from the bar, and Rise hears music and says, well, I want to find out what this music is, and Llewellyn doesn't go with him, but they see this crop circle off in the distance. Rise goes towards the crop circle, Llewellyn staggers home drunk, and then Rise never comes home. So time goes on and a murder investigation gets started. Next thing you know, Llewellyn's in jail because people saw them leave together at the bar. Llewellyn comes home, Rise never comes home, his wife is freaking out, and they think, okay, he killed him and took his money or something. Llewellyn's in jail, and then one of the, an expert on medieval science says, okay, you said that you saw a ring, right? And you said that you heard music. Yes. Well, that sounds a lot like the medieval legend of the fairy rings. Let's go back there and check it out. So eventually the police go back to this fairy ring, they find it, and when Llewellyn goes inside, he actually pops into the same parallel reality and sees Rise dancing around with these little people. That's what this drawing is based on. And then as the police touched Llewellyn, who you're seeing here, the police also saw this sighting. Now, he's dancing around, having a great time, playing music, jamming out, but they didn't realize that the people inside were on a different time frame. So when Rise gets pulled out, he said, wait a minute, I've only been in there for a few minutes. It had actually been 3 weeks. Rise becomes sick. He's terrified of what happened. He doesn't understand how it could have been so short for him and 3 weeks for everybody else. And he ultimately died within just a few weeks because he was so freaked out by this.
In 1954, at the International Airport in Tokyo, a man was detained for possibly having counterfeit currency and passport. He claimed to be from Torrid, and that's where his passport was issued from. However, no such country or territory has ever existed on our planet Earth. His passport already had previous stamps verifying he had been through their airport before. But how could that be? They put the man in a hotel room for the evening, but kept the room under guard, and they planned to investigate further in the morning. However, the following morning, the man from Torrid had mysteriously disappeared. This wormhole or portal incident seems to involve time travel, but I found it so intriguing it had to be included. This comes from the Miami Herald. In 1974, a national airline 727 was approaching Miami when the tower lost all radar and radio contact. They noted visual contact was lost too. The tower dispatched emergency personnel to the swamp where they presumed the plane went down. But 10 minutes after the plane disappeared, it suddenly reappeared in the exact location from where it went missing. The tower instructed the pilot to land on the emergency runway. The pilot agreed, but was confused, for the flight occurred without incident from his perspective. Investigators discovered that the plane's clock, as well as everyone's watch who was on the flight, read 20 minutes after the hour, when it was actually 30 minutes after the hour. Did the plane and its occupants jump 10 minutes into the future? In July of 2008, Lorena Garcia posted a plea for help on the internet. She explained how she awoke one morning to notice subtle changes. Her sheets were different, a few items in the wrong location, Just minor things that could be ignored. Then when she arrived at work, she discovered everything was different. She was in a different department with a boss she had never met. Later that day, she discovers an old boyfriend from 6 months back is still her current boyfriend. She sees a medical doctor who confirms that she hasn't been drugged or doesn't have any neurological issues and that her mental health is sound. So she believes that she somehow slipped into a parallel universe. On September 9th, 2009, James Richards uploaded Everyday Chemistry to the internet, along with an interesting story. He said he met a traveler to a parallel world named Jonas, and the Beatles didn't break up on Jonas's world. Everyday Chemistry is supposedly a Beatles album from the 1970s. Experts and Beatle fans have analyzed the album, and they all do agree it is the 4 members of the Beatles. However, skeptics believe the album is a talented mashup of all their unreleased and solo work. The entire album is available on YouTube for you to make your own opinion. In 2013, when the news reported that Nelson Mandela had died, millions of people were confused, for they seemed to remember him dying in prison back in the 1980s. And it wasn't just that one incident. There have been countless discrepancies pointed out in recent history. Is it a case of millions of people with the same memory delusion? Or is it a case of dimensional awareness? Either one is just as strange. Okay, this one is just weird and creepy. This guy in Valencia, Spain woke up in the hospital to find no one there. The hospital was empty. Outside was empty. It's like all the people disappeared. He starts filming and uploading his footage to TikTok. Now all the paperwork around says it's 2021, but everything electronic like computers claims he's in the year 2027. He's uploading to TikTok and we're receiving his videos here in 2021. So I don't know. I mean, if this is all some entertaining scam, then it's explainable. But if not, we're getting into weird territory. He was accused of filming early in the morning before people are out. So he films a clock showing it as 5 p.m. in the evening. You know, rush hour. Now people post back challenging him to go places. He's been asked to go to restaurants that Valencia residents know and claim are always busy. He's been challenged to go to an airport. He was challenged to go to a Mercedes dealer and actually take a car. He was challenged to go to the police station. He couldn't get in, so he takes a cop car. He was challenged to go to the sports arena. Now I know if you have enough money and the right connections, making videos like this would be possible. But it is also possible that this gentleman is actually trapped in some kind of mirror universe or a simulation. Now, there seem to be certain locations on this Earth where, if everything is just right, portals will naturally open up. Places like the Bermuda Triangle, Sedona, Arizona, or Skinwalker Ranch. But there is another location that's not as well known, the San Luis Valley in Colorado.
Called the San Luis Valley, it sits at over 8,000 feet above sea level. The valley has been known for a long time to be a place where many strange events occur. It has been rumored that there are portals to other dimensions in the valley. What's going on in this mysterious valley?
The San Luis Valley is in south central Colorado, and it actually, geologically, it extends down to Taos, New Mexico. So it does actually go below the Colorado-New Mexico border. However, the Colorado portion is known as the San Luis Valley. The lower portion is not, even though it is part of the same valley system.
When I say window area, I mean a place that seems to have a preponderance of paranormal activity, be it UFOs, Bigfoot, poltergeist activity, whatever. And often, strangely enough, and a lot of people probably watching know this, all those things at once.
And when you have that close proximity of minimum and maximum field strength, it sets up vortices of electromagnetic energy. And where you have the minimum intensity areas, you also have intermittent layers of clay, sand, and water, and that creates a perfect natural battery. So you have a variety of gravitic lows, the close proximity of field strength.
Portals are actually different areas. They're also described as vortexes. Most of the portals that we've gone to examine are all in places that the indigenous people hold sacred. What's causing the portals, which are a tear in the electric membrane that separates dimensions, are vast quartz crystal deposits underneath the topography. That these deposits actually generate electromagnetic fields so strong that they can cause a momentary rip or tear in that membrane. And when you get that tear occurring, you have momentary interaction between dimensions, and we describe that as being paranormal.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg on some of the things that go on there. As a result of the location, it's the only area in North America where 3 regional groups of Indians overlapped. The Great Plains Indians would go there during the summer. The Great Basin Indians, the nomadic Ute, for instance, in the Kiowa and the Comanche, and there's 13 different tribes ended up using the valley. And the Southwestern Indians, of course, the Navajo, the Dene people, the Apache, and even the Hopi would make vision quests up there. So it's the only spot in America that we can say that 3 regional groups overlapped. It's so isolated. You have to understand it's the world's largest alpine valley. It's completely surrounded and ringed by mountains. It's roughly football shaped. You have the Sangre de Cristo, the longest continuous mountain range in North America, going up the east side, which is also the largest volcanic thrust fault in the interior of the United States. It goes from the Gulf of Mexico to Leadville, and it follows the Sangres, or the middle portion of it. And then, of course, the San Juan Mountains are on the west side, and it's completely surrounded by mountains. And interestingly enough, it's radar invisible below 18,000 feet. There's no monitoring of the airspace below that particular altitude. I mean, pretty much any type of paranormal phenomenon that you can stick your finger on has occurred there, including crop circles in the early 70s.
The holiest mountain there being Mount Blanca, which is a 14,000-foot mountain peak, which some of the Indians claim actually have crystal skulls buried on, which is fascinating.
There's also the 3rd largest aquifer in North America there underneath this valley.
The mountains themselves literally exhibit electromagnetic fields that are up to 500 times more powerful than the surrounding countryside. And that's what it takes to cause a rip in that membrane and get that interdimensional activity to occur. One of the places where that occurs almost on a daily basis is the San Luis Valley.
Because of the conditions that you find there, you'll occasionally see piezoelectric discharges from the Sangres. The Sangres are filled with negative spaces where quartz obviously has grown. And there's some rumors even that Nikola Tesla came there at one point to investigate the discharging of the piezoelectric energy. I have actually seen it on a couple of occasions, late at night, super cold winter nights, a very low single-digit humidity, and you'll see these flashes of light that come out of the mountains and go up into the air, and they separate from the mountain and go up into the air. And on 2 occasions I've seen it.
Towering over the San Luis Valley is Mount Blanca. This is the 4th highest mountain in Colorado. The mountain, which frequently is snow-covered all year long, is one of the most sacred mountains to the local Native Americans. Right below Mount Blanca is the Sand Dunes National Monument. The Sand Dunes Monument is one of the largest sand dunes in the Americas. Today, there are rumors swirling that there's a base of some kind inside the mountain. Either way, Mount Blanca has so many UFO sightings that there's even a UFO watchtower where viewers can come and watch the mountain. What's really going on in the San Luis Valley may never be fully understood. Because of its geographical isolation, it's a place where it's easy to hide. Possibly both the U.S. military and off-planet forces are occupying areas within the large valley. Like the Bermuda Triangle and other haunted landscapes, the mysterious valley only proves that nature's way is often difficult for we humans to understand.
Now, there must be one of these natural portals in China also. Either that or the Chinese government is doing some really advanced experiments, because cities have been spotted in the clouds floating over China. In October of 2015, this cloud city was seen above China. A few days later, another one was spotted above a neighboring city. Skeptics would argue that these are mirages, but they seem too three-dimensional and detailed to be a mirage. But what do you think?
It looks like your average city skyline, but in fact, these images are just an elaborate optical illusion. The amazing mirage appeared over Huangshan City in East China at dusk on Thursday. Following a heavy downpour, the spectacular images of mountains, buildings and trees appeared in the thin mist above the Shinan River. The phenomenon began at about 5 p.m. local time, to the amazement of passers-by.
It's really amazing. It looks like a scene in the movie, in a fairyland.
Although residents say that similar sights have been seen lately, most agreed that this one had been the most impressive.
The cities have also been spotted in the sea, off the coast of China too.
My family took me to Yantai, which is a place in Shandong province, China, and that place was really famous for mysterious looking cities that would appear on the ocean. So if you ever go there and you're lucky enough, you could look out onto the ocean and see what looks like a modern city. Videos have clearly captured this phenomenon, and it has been reported on by the state media network in China. What's really interesting is that the buildings that show up on the ocean don't match up with any city in the world, and the footages captured actually show people walking around inside the buildings themselves. Experts say this was just a mirage, but they even admitted that they really had no idea what's causing it. So modern buildings that appear over the ocean that doesn't match any skyline of any city in the world, people actually walking around inside these buildings, I'm gonna go ahead and call alternate universe.
And just once in Africa, a city was seen floating in the clouds above a village, and they reported seeing tall, beautiful buildings, tarred roads with cars, and they could hear the machinery. Hundreds of people go missing every year, and I'm sure for the majority of them there's a natural or normal explanation. But now I have to wonder, out of all those missing people in our world, what percentage of them have slipped into a parallel reality? I hope you have found this educational and interesting. If not, I hope you have at least found it amusing. I'm Benjamin Willis. Thanks for watching.